Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College Sucks. I'm your host, Davia Samantha Davidson, a student affairs professional who has been in college most of her life. And this week, I'm coming to you from Sick City. Yes, you can hear it in my voice. And probably last week, you heard a hint of it too. I was coming down with either the flu or a sinus infection. Either way, I've felt terrible and I have been fighting for my life. But being an adult, the show must go on. And so I am asking you to bear with me. I know I don't sound like a normal person, but the message is bigger than the messenger because this week I'm talking about what I know, okay? What to do when you're in college and you're sick. College sucks. I'm sick, you're sick, we're all sick. Stay tuned. So, as I stated, this week we're looking at the absolute misery of being sick in college. And we're going to dive into why it happens so often and, what kind of support system you need and how you're going to survive so that you don't get derailed in your academic program. Because let's be honest, being sick is kind of a setback. It can be. So, what can you do to make sure that you are progressing, even though you have this minor setback? So let's get into it. Why do people always be getting sick while they're in college? It's basically because schools in general are basically a disease factory. Let's be honest. So let's start with your hall of residence. Let's begin there. It doesn't matter how often we say to students, clean up your surroundings, clean the kitchen, and no matter how many cleaners we send on the hall, as long as you're using a space that has been used by someone else, once they're in the beginning stage of any illness that they have, especially like the flu, which it's flu season right now, the chances of you catching it's going to be pretty high because they are touching everything. So they touch door handles, they touch the microwave handles, they touch the stove, they're touching everything and you're touching it right after. I know that after COVID, a lot of people found that like coming out of that period that they weren't getting as sick, and it was because we were more vigilant. So as soon as you went into a space, you would spray your hands, you would spray your hands when you leave the space. People were constantly washing their hands. But as is human nature, as soon as something is done, we just believe, okay, that's over with, and it's not a thing to worry about. And so we're more susceptible to catching the flu virus because we're not as vigilant as we used to be. On top of that, like nobody's telling anyone anymore that once you have flu-like symptoms, you definitely need to stay home. And when you have a busy schedule, if you have assignments and you're really trying to achieve your academic goals, even when you feel like you're getting a tinge of something, you're not thinking, oh, I have flu like symptoms, I need to just stay away from people. You're still going to be moving around, and you have to shower, you have to use the bathroom, you have to cook. So you are going to be touching things, and other people are going to touch it. And that's just really what it is. It's not like you're wiping down a space before you touch it. So definitely you're more susceptible. The next thing is that your sleep is interrupted. Now, when you're in college, you find that if you have a deadline or just based on the noise level or just the fact that you're not home, like a lot of people have sleep disorders. I actually have a sleep disorder. So it's not as easy for people to fall asleep. And when you're in a stressful situation and you're not getting enough sleep, you are more susceptible to getting sick. Sleep is the way your body repairs itself. Studies have shown. So when you're on hall or when you're in college, you're not getting as much sleep as you need to repair your body. So you're basically playing catch up. And so if you have a small bug, which, sometimes you don't feel well and you take some painkillers and you go to bed. And if you've slept well enough, you wake up and you feel like a brand new person. But if you're not getting enough sleep, the possibility of that happening is less and less. So just the fact that you're not getting enough sleep is another thing. The next thing is, as I said before, like, not everyone has a cleanliness standard that you might have. So you have people who know they have the cold and the flu and they still turn up to classes. They're still walking around the place just coughing and, sniffling and just spreading it around the place. Like, it's not a thing. And I've seen it for myself, like people sneezing and then touching stuff. I'm like, excuse me. Like, the flu is a virus, it lives on surfaces and then other people catch it. So just that, it's not, people still are going to turn up even when they're sick. Even employees are going to turn up. Like, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I really wanted to turn up to work because I have so much to do and I don't want to be behind. But I had to think that, oh, do you want to be, patient one? Do you want to be the person that's spreading it to everybody? It's just really best that you try to recover before you think about going into the space and infecting other people. So not everybody is as responsible as you might be. And so you have to just take responsibility for yourself and approach everywhere, especially in the flu season, with a sense of, vigilance. I am going to have my alcohol and I'm going to not be just touching surfaces, and I'm going to routinely wash my hands. Another area in which people tend to get sick too is just from how you're eating. We eat a lot of dairy, and it's been very dry in Jamaica right now. For those of my listeners that are here, and I've been complaining. I'm like, it needs to rain because it's dry and it's windy, and all those dust particles, they're just blowing all up in your face, up in your eyes, all up in your nose. And then what we're eating as well, one of the easiest, most soothing snack is something with cheese. I myself have a lactose allergy. I'm really not supposed to be eating any dairy, but there are so many things that dairy is in. And if you're not mindful, you're just adding to your susceptibility to a sinus infection. So the place is dry and dusty. You're not drinking as much water as you should. And there you go. Eating as much dairy as you'd like, because let's be honest, it's delicious. And you're probably not eating things that are rich in the vitamins and nutrients that you need. You're eating high salt and high sugar foods. So just how your body would be able to repair itself if you were getting enough sleep and eating whole foods, you are not going to be able to do that as easily in a college environment, because the food that's available to you, that's affordable and that's quick, is honestly not going to be doing that much for your health. So that's another reason why you're more prone to getting ill. All right. So what makes getting sick in college so much more horrible than getting sick being at home? Well, for one, it's the fact that you're not home. For those of us who've had mothers who were used to us being sick from very young and just always knowing how to take care of us, your parents, your family, your siblings normally rally around you when you're sick. But when you're on campus or when you're in college or when you're the mom, you're the grown up and you're back in college, there really is no one to take care of you. So you have to still be the one making your soup, going to the doctor, going to the pharmacy, getting your drugs, making sure that you take care of yourself. And if you're a parent, you still might have your children to take care of. So that's what makes it worse for you. For me, even though I'm an employee at the college, I still live in residence, basically like the students. So a couple of the things that affect them, other than the shared space, I don't have a shared space. I'm in my own flat. So any viruses that are here, it was just me spreading it around to myself. But my doctor is not in this area. My pharmacy is not in this area. And so I have, in this season, have to take more responsibility. So I called my doctor and I said, well, we need to talk over the phone because your doctor, your home doctor, knows your medical history, right? And so they will know what medications you're allergic to, what might work for you, what they tried the last time, and what didn't work. So it was very important for me when I was being told, oh, you need to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to a doctor where I am because this doctor does not know my history. So I had to call my general practitioner, my doctor, and have a conversation with him, and then find a pharmacy that I've already gone to a couple of times and have a little bit of a relationship to get him to phone in my prescription. So that is something that you need to think about, especially if you like me. I know I get the flu every year. It's just gonna happen. So you have to be prepared. If you look in my medicine cabinet, there's going to be a lot of cold and flu and sinus medication because I know that I am prone to that. Now, at the level of which I caught this one, none of those things were going to help me. They were just going to pacify, but they were not going to fix. So I did start to take them, but I needed something stronger. So when you're away from home, you don't have access to those types of resources. And later on, like I'm going to say, what are some of the things you can do to mitigate those issues? The next thing is that even though in residence here we have a fantastic college nurse, two of them, one in the day and then one available to students at night. There are limitations as to what they can offer you. So in Jamaica, and I think in other parts of the world too, because I've gone to school in the US, your health center, they can't give you anything like that. Like you need to talk to a doctor. So in Jamaica, in the high schools and colleges, nurses are not allowed to give you any kind of drug. So whether it's over the counter, you have to go and buy that for yourself. Nurses are not permitted by law to give you anything. So the most you can get is menthol crystals, and suggestions about resting, or tablets that you could possibly take over the counter, but none can be handed to you. So that's the next thing. So when you get sick, depending on what your college health plan is, it can also be very costly for you, and cost might be a deterrent because going to the doctor is not free. You know what I mean? So that is another way in which it's really difficult for you. The next big thing is that your lecturers, honestly, they are caring and thoughtful people, but they don't care. And I say that in that they too have deadlines to meet. They need your group presentations, they need your assignments, they have to mark them by a particular time to enter it so that you have your grades when you need them. And so when you are sick, you can get a certain level of consideration, but at the end of the day, the deadline is the deadline. And so I think a lot of times that's why students, when they're sick, they still turn up to school because they just feel like they can't afford to be behind. They can't have that. And so it's just par for the course. Like your professor is not really going to be able to deal with you on an individual level that, oh, you're sick and you get a pass. They have to be consistent with everybody else. So if you're in residence, is the fact that in order to recover, like I said, you are going to need rest. And it's just that this time when you need rest is when sports season has started and they're making noise, or somebody decides that they need to move furniture, or your roommate decides that she wants to call her family or call her friends, and you just really want everybody to be quiet so that you can rest, but it's just not the ideal space. And then going home, it's not necessarily going to work because you're hoping that as soon as you feel better, you'll be able to start going back to your classes. So it's just rough all around. These are some of the things that just makes it very difficult for you when you're in college and you're not feeling well. Now, for some of us, getting sick is just an inconvenience. But for students with pre existing health conditions, it can be a whole different level of scary. Now, some students have chronic illnesses. And so imagine chronic illness plus college plus then this sickness, that can equal just an emotional and physical nightmare. If you have asthma or an autoimmune disorder, diabetes, or any other chronic illness, even a cold can hit you way harder. A normal flu for one person could mean hospitalization for someone else. And that, which is why I often say to others that, yes, I know you need to come to school when you're sick. You just feel like you have to, but think about other students who this can affect in a greater way. I'm asthmatic as well, so I really can't afford to play around with it. So it's really a lot more difficult. So, if you have a chronic illness, chances are you've already been dealing with doctors your whole life. So, when you're on campus, your health center is really a resource for you. Like you've been on campus, you should have been honest and upfront with your nurse or whatever health professional your university or college has, if you have a doctor, about any illnesses that you might have, so that when it's the flu season and so on, they can look out for you, give you some extra tips, talk to you about what you need to be doing to protect yourself. So it's very, very important. And I know some students feel bad too, because if you have a pre-existing condition, your lecturers sometimes, they give off the vibe of being a bit annoyed because they're like, oh, you're sick again or whatever. And you really have to make sure that you're upfront from the beginning, from you start your course with a new lecturer. Just say to them, look, I have this medical condition. And not that you're walking around and telling everybody your business, but I feel like if people know what you're going through, they're more inclined to give you grace. And especially if you try to make sure that when you are not sick, that you are turning up to your classes when there's nothing wrong with you. Because I know that can be very annoying for lecturers. Like you already have times when you normally can't make it. So when you can, you should turn up and you should participate. You should be active. You should turn in your work on time, because you are going to need grace when your illness takes over. And just always be prepared to talk up for yourself, report to the health center when you're not feeling well, so that you can get a note, because some courses have non-compliance rules, meaning that you can't miss a certain number of classes. So it's very important that you inform your college nurse as soon as you're sick, so that they can inform your lecturers, so that you're not penalized. Just make sure that you are fighting for yourself and that you are being honest about when you're sick and turning up when you're not. The next thing is the emotional toll that having these pre-existing conditions and then having to worry during cold and flu season. And then also, you're trying to explain to people like, oh, I can't be out in the evenings because I'm more likely to get the cold or the flu from a change in temperature. And, you're just feeling isolated, like you're not able to hang like everybody else. You can't, on a windy, dusty day, you can't afford to be outside. My friend at work, who's also the college nurse, she'll tell me, like, it's super windy. Don't come up to the top of the campus, because as soon as I get exposed to that, you're going to hear it in my voice the next day. And it's just your situation. It's the reality. And you have to work with it. There's no sense in wishing and hoping and dreaming. You have to play with the cards that you're dealt. And it's okay to be frustrated by how easily you get sick or how you're not able to participate in everything like everyone else. It's just your lot, and you just have to try not to get stuck in that mood and just do the best you can with what you have. All right, so I've spoken about, all the things to worry about when you get sick and why you get sick. But let's talk about what can you do, because this show is definitely about solutions. So how to survive being sick in college. So here are 5 things that you can do. So the first one is stock up before you get sick. All right. And this is something that I practice. Although I have been kicking myself because I know vitamin C is something I should be chugging, like I should be taking this daily. And somehow I just made my busy schedule get the best of me. And I would hop out of the house without taking my vitamins. And I'm not saying it would have prevented the flu because, like I said, I get it every year. It's just par for the course. But I really feel like it would have helped me, or I would have, it with some over the counter drugs could have probably helped me out a little bit better. So you need to be prepared. You need to take preventative measures. So you need to stock up on your cold and flu. You need to stock up on your honey and any natural remedies that your grandmother or your mother feeds you on. You need to bottle that and you need to start sipping it because it's very dry, and if you're not sick yet, it's going to come. So just make sure that you have all the things that a sick person might need. So you're going to need to have over the counter medication, you're rubbing alcohol, and you know the things that you are susceptible to having. So get the medication that you need to be able to deal with that. I have allergy problems. I have tons of allergy medication. So just make sure that you stock up on those things and have tea for, because sometimes when you're sick, you're not able to eat, but having a warm drink can really save your stomach. So just make sure that you have those things available for you. The next thing is to, like I said before, use your health center. Okay. Yes, they can't give you over the counter medication, but they can give you menthol crystals. They can give you some tea. They can make suggestions. They can write notes for you if you need to miss classes. So don't, as soon as you start to feel the symptoms, go and get the advice that you need to start on the path of getting better. I have been taking so much accountability for this illness because I felt it coming on, but I just thought, okay, as soon as I slow down, I'll deal with it. And it did not wait for me to slow down. It just took full effect. So as soon as you feel sick, jump on it, hop on it. Do not dismiss it. A niggling feeling in your throat, get on that. Start taking your meds. As soon as you start to get sick, email your lecturers. Communication is key. So just let them know that you're not feeling well. Tell them you're taking steps. Tell them you know your work is due and you really are going to try. But if you have to miss a deadline because you're sick, it is what it is. Do not try to kill yourself over it. As long as you have your documentation that you are not well, you cannot be penalized for that, okay? But just make sure that you are communicating. Another thing that you need to do is you need to get a sick pal, okay? A sick buddy. So if you have a friend or roommate, you can make a deal with them. When you're sick, I'll take care of you. When I'm sick, you'll take care of me. And this can work really, really well. I know a lot of students here who, when they're sick, they will tell you who you need to call. That person has all their medical history. That person knows what to do. That person has a contact for their family. So you need to just make sure that you have a friend who can, look out for you, take care of you. I must say that I've been sick, and my fellow lecturers here have taken such good care of me. They've sent me notes. Are you okay? They've dropped off fruits. I'm lucky to have my friend being the nurse. So she came and she checked on me, and, she made sure I had soup and just made sure I was okay. So everybody needs a friend when they're sick, because being sick can be really, really difficult to deal with. And you need somebody to tell you to sit down. Like she definitely had to tell me that, like, you need to go to your bed and you need to rest. You can't do it. You are sick. And you're going to need your friend to tell you that it's okay. You have permission to sit down because you're not doing well. And then the fifth and final tip I have for you is to wear a mask and don't spread the plague. Okay? Just because you're sick does not mean that it's the gift that should keep giving. Let it end with you. So if you're coughing, wear a mask. There is no reason that you need to get the whole class infected, and just follow the COVID protocols. So even if you are just starting to feel the effects of it, wear a mask, sit to the back of the class near an open window, try not to be touching everything, hand sanitize all the time, anytime you're going to touch surfaces, and wash your hands. All right, so those are the tips I have for you. It's it's really really tough being sick just on a normal, but it's even harder when you're in college. I promise you, I can remember a lot of my university sick days. I had hay fever in undergrad. Yes, I did not know that that was something that could happen to Black people. When I went overseas to do my master's, I had a horrible sinus infection. It was so bad, I went to the dentist. I thought I had a cavity, and they were checking, and they were like, nope, your teeth are perfectly fine, but let's touch your, and she touched my face, and I screamed. I had the worst sinus infection in life. And then in the spring, I had a flu that was so bad that when I called the health center, they were like, can you send somebody to collect the stuff? Like, you are not even fit to go outside. So I know what it's like, and you still have everything pulling at you. You still have work to do, and you just feel absolutely horrible. But at the end of the day, if you are sick, you just need to rest. That's the best prescription. You need to rest so that you can recover as quickly as possible and get on back to doing what you need to do. All right, so that's it from me this week. I have used up the little energy that I have, and I am going to take my own advice, and I am going to retreat to bed to continue my recovery. So stay safe, stay hydrated, start taking your vitamin C, and I really hope that you will get out of this season unscathed. All right, thank you for listening. See you next week. Bye.